Hi, everybody. Welcome to our next episode of Raise the Bar in Real Estate. We have a very special guest today, Kim Williams. I am so fortunate to actually work with Kim on a regular basis. Kim is our transaction coordinator at the agency, and she really is the heartbeat to all of our transactions, which we're going to dive into more specifically, and why her role is so important for you and to keep everything running really smoothly. But Kim has a wealth of experience. She's been in the business since 2008. Is that right?
2006. Yeah.
2006. And has just, yeah, been kind of running the show ever since. So Kim is a grandma to two beautiful grandsons and lives in Arizona, but yeah, supports us all in Oregon. And she'll definitely tell us why she moved to Arizona here in a bit too. So Kim, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. I think everybody's gonna really value, yeah, just what you do for all of us and how you really keep us, yeah, just keep us all together. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so maybe we could start with your journey. Like, what got you into real estate, and what do you love about the business, and what is your role? So I know that's a lot to unpack, but yeah, take it away.
Well, I got into real estate. I kind of like fell into it, I guess. A friend of mine had um, an realtor that was looking for an assistant. And so I applied for the job and I got it. And then in 2009, the realtor had me get my license so that I could help him more in the business because being unlicensed, it's very limited on what you can do. So I did that and worked with him for a couple of years. And then in 2011, I left there and went to another company where I was the listing coordinator. So helping get the realtors listings on on market, scheduling appointments for them and everything. And from there became the closing coordinator. And so that's pretty much where I've been since then. And there was in 2018, I moved from being the closing coordinator. I actually started using my license and helping people buy and sell their homes. And so I did that for a number of years. And I also helped other agents in the office with their paperwork. So I was having the best of both worlds because I'm kind of a crazy person and I like paperwork.
Well, I say that, I don't think everybody could do your job for sure. I know I couldn't. I have mad respect for what you do. And I think it's really important for the audience to know, like, yes, the realtor sometimes can be the face of the transaction, but there's so many people kind of keeping the transaction balls up in the air, and you're a critical piece to that. And so I don't think I knew that, when I bought and sold houses. So can you tell us a little bit about your role and what a transaction coordinator does in a typical day?
Sure. So we're kind of behind the scenes,
Mhm.
keeping the ball rolling. Once the offer's been accepted, we're sending the paperwork to the title company. If it is our buyer, then we're sending the paperwork to the buyer's lender and making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and that we have everything that we need to keep the transaction moving slowly or to closing. So, because there's many times where we discover, oh, there's another document that's needed. And so we're following up with maybe the agent on the other side or our clients if we're representing them or the lender. So we're just making sure that we have everything that we need to get to a successful closing.
Yeah, which is again the ultimate goal, and there's a lot of things that can unravel for sure. So speaking of that, what skill set do you think is so paramount for your role?
I think attention to detail is important because I think that can, if you don't pay attention to those like timelines, then things can fall apart. If you are at your last day of the inspection period and the repairs haven't been negotiated, it can fall apart at that point. So it's important to have an extra set of eyes paying attention to those type of things. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know I appreciate that. I mean, I think I know what your superpower is, but how would you describe your superpower? Because you definitely have one.
oh my gosh, my superpower. Wow. I don't think I let things rattle me too much when I'm
Yeah.
going through working a file. I think I've been referred to as a steady Eddie at one point. So
Yeah.
I I think that's pretty good. I think maybe that's my superpower.
Yeah, you're definitely not alarmist, and there's definitely moments that can cause for a lot of chaos and alarm bells for
Yeah.
sure. What are some of those moments do you think behind the scenes that you smooth out? Like, what can be some of those, yeah, those common pain points in a transaction?
Um, Gathering the documents, like if we're needing something from either our client or the agent on the other side, I think I can calmly help gather that. Maybe the agent is all flustered at that moment because they're juggling maybe a couple of different transactions, whereas I can be the person in the back helping, where they can focus on one file and I can get whatever else we need for the other one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how do you do it? Like, what's your systems to keep it all organized?
Oh, I think my camera just went.
So Kim, there has to be the transaction where it all hell broke loose and you had to have a cape on and save the day. Do you have like a favorite transaction that felt like it was going to unravel and
Oh
kind of how it
gosh,
all came together? I'm sure you have lots, but
I do. I think back to my time when there were short sales going on,
yeah.
and those could get a little dicey, towards the end. And I just think keeping a level head when you are at that 12th hour and
Mhm.
um, helping make sure you have everything that you need to get the deal closed. So I probably can't think of one exactly off the top of my head, but I do remember that short sale time and how stressful it could be because you're trying to help your seller, you know, with the best outcome. Um, and hopefully, the bank will work with them and we can get the deal closed. So I don't know if that answered your
Yeah,
question.
no, but it does. I'd love for you to also maybe unpack what is a short sale.
Okay. Well, I hope we never have those again. But back in, I think it was '08, uh, there was a lot of those going on because um, sellers had purchased the property and um, gosh, trying to remember. They had purchased the property for more than they could sell it for at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a lot of them were listing them, and we had to get approval from their lender to sell it for less than what they owed on it.
Mhm.
Because many of them couldn't come up with the difference in what the property could sell for and what they still owed on the loan. So the bank would have to approve of that. And most of the time it was getting near foreclosure. They
Okay.
had missed payments on it. And so, uh, dealing with banks, there were people that were negotiators. And so there was just a lot of people involved and a lot of steps that you had to go through, and you had to do things in exactly the right order and through the right system in order to get those approved. So
Yeah, I can imagine. Speaking of systems, what are some of your systems and processes to keep all the balls in the air? Because for everybody listening, Kim is not just working on one transaction. She is working, like, what's your typical transaction load like in the springtime, peak season?
um, I can have at least probably 12, 12 files going on at
Wow.
one point. I mean, I had more, but now we've brought on another person to help with that. So now we're splitting the files between the two of us. So there's been times that I've had more than that going on,
Wow.
in a typical month. So, um, you know, probably at least probably 20, or more going
Oh,
on. I don't count.
so what are your, how do you keep it all together? What are your systems and processes?
Well, checklists are key. We have checklists set up in each file, that tasks are assigned to ourselves as the TC, or they're assigned to the realtor. Um, And so I'm constantly going through the files and making sure that we have everything that we need by the date that was assigned to that task, if there is one that needs to be assigned to that task. So, I'm pretty much in the files every day looking
Yeah.
at and making sure we have everything that we need, because in the end, when it closes, we want to make sure everybody has everything they need and they're happy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it just shows the importance of the checklist. You can't keep it all in your head. There's just no
Right,
way.
right. And on the calendar too. We do calendar invites for key dates so that everybody's on the same page and they know what's going on.
So kind of leading into that, in your mind, what do you see as contributing to a smooth transaction versus a stressful one? What separates the two?
I think good communication is important between the parties on the other side, as well as you, if you're working with me, um, and another agent. If we don't have good communication, then that makes things even more difficult, because if you're constantly having to chase somebody to get paperwork that you need,
Yeah.
that's taking your focus away from something else that might need that attention. So
Yeah, and so it kind of talks about, like, when you and I are working on a transactions, how do we collaborate behind the scenes? Like, what can we do to make sure that there is a great experience
mhm,
for the client?
right, right. I think it's important when you start working with a client that maybe you tell them, it's not just me. I have somebody that's working behind the scenes, and this is who it is. And
Mhm.
she's helping me gather the documents that we need. So if you hear from her, you know, she's
Part
assisting. Yeah, I'm part of the
of the
team.
team. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
totally.
I think it's important, for them to know it's not just you,
Yeah.
because maybe you have two other clients that you're working with, And so if they know that there is somebody else helping you, then that makes them feel like, oh, okay, she has it together. She knows what she's doing and she has a team working behind her. So,
Yeah. And that should only give the client this sense of confidence
mhm.
and security because it's
Yeah,
really a stressful
yeah.
situation.
Yes, especially if you haven't sold a house before or you're a first time home buyer. I think it can be very stressful because you don't know what to expect and what's going to be happening through the process. Hopefully, it's been explained to you, but I know you might forget something. And so
Yeah.
it is a stressful time.
Yeah. And most people in their lifetime are probably only doing two or three transactions. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of time between each transaction. So of course it feels like a new experience every time.
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
So what is some of the most stressful parts of your job, would you say?
Lack of communication from the other agent on the other side.
Mhm.
I mean, there's not too many of them that are that way, but there's a few that I feel like when the a file comes through, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to chase them constantly to get what I need. But
Can
I'm
you work with their transaction coordinator or
yeah,
is that,
yeah.
are they able to kind of help facilitate that?
Yes, yes. If they have a transaction coordinator, then we work together to get what we need. And I think that makes things go a little smoother when they have support too on their side.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully they do.
Yes.
So what is the most rewarding part of your job and why do
You
you keep
know,
doing this?
I think knowing that at the end of the transaction, when everything's gone smoothly, and it closes and everyone's happy, with the outcome. Because I know it can get a little dicey in the middle, especially when you're negotiating repairs and the seller is like, well, what do they mean? This is going on with my house because you take it so personally.
Yeah,
But I think at the end, when the outcome is it's closed and everyone's happy, that's rewarding. And to know that I had a part in that.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Because it's not only just your client. I mean, I feel like they're mine too, you
yeah,
know, that I'm part of the
absolutely.
team helping get them to the finish line. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I absolutely see you as part of the team, a very critical part of the team. So it
Oh,
takes
thank
a
you.
Definitely takes a village.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this has been so informative and so valuable. And I hope, our listeners all understand it's like, when you go to a transaction, there is so much experience behind the scenes
Hmm.
that are helping, create everything smooth and seamless as possible. So, and you're a huge contributor to that.
Oh, thank you.
Um, but thank you. And I do have one last question, because it's always fun to know what you would tell your younger self. So, what advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now? And it doesn't have
Oh,
to be related to real estate.
okay. I think maybe I wish I had gotten into real estate sooner, than I did. I I worked for US Bank for a number of years and then I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids and I did daycare and then my husband and I had a trucking company, a long haul trucking company that we ran for a little while together. So I almost wish that I had gotten into real estate sooner than what I did. So I think it would have been, I mean, I've loved the time that I've been in it. And I had somebody ask me the other day, so when are you going to retire? And I'm like, I don't know because I like doing this, it's almost not a job. So anyway,
Well,
yeah,
that's fantastic because I don't think many people can say that, that
right.
they love
Yep,
what
I
they do
agree.
and
I
yeah.
agree.
And just for our listeners, Kim is in Arizona and she supports agents in Oregon. So the flexibility that comes with this job is amazing. And, I think you've made it work,
Yeah.
with you can do a job that you're passionate about, but you have this location flexibility.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I've loved that because I've been on trips to Hawaii and other places here in the United States, and I've been able to continue doing the job from wherever I am, going down the freeway or whatever. So
So
I'm
do
not driving at the time,
you
but
work on vacation? Are you one of those?
yeah, I know I'm one of those. So
But luckily you have now somebody on, the
yeah,
team that can support you. There's two of you because yeah,
yeah,
definitely you were flying solo for a
yeah,
while there.
yeah.
Hopefully you can have a proper vacation. So
Yeah, we'll see.
well, thank you, Kim. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for making us all look great and shine and look awesome to our clients. We
Oh,
thank
you're
you without
welcome.
you.
Thank
And
you.
thanks
I
for joining
appreciate
today.
it. All
Bye.
right. Bye.